All right, everybody. There's news. I am literally still, dressed from being on the air earlier today with the weekend crew with Simone Sanders, Alicia Menendez, and Michael Steele on the weekend show on MSNBC. And then the news broke. So here we go. I'm gonna answer as many questions as possible that pop up. I'm going to do this very quickly because schedules and everything are crazy. I may be back on the air later on tonight. Obviously, we'll be talking about this on my podcast, A Word, which you can see on Instagram. All the advertising is done. So three big things. Three big things. Okay. Number one, why did Joe Biden step down? Are the Democrats screwed? Joe Biden had to step down because his own party was revolting against him. It's that simple. You don't have to like it. You don't have to think it's a good idea strategically. Alan Lichtman, the guy who's predicted, 10 straight presidential elections, doesn't think it's a good idea. I didn't think it was a good idea, but literally there was a coup around Joe Biden for 21 straight days. Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Adam Schiff. You had too many people saying, hey, we don't want you anymore. And part of your job as president is to maintain control of your own party. If you can't do that anymore, people can justifiably tell you to go. He had to step down. He had too little support. And even though the important thing to remember about the numbers is the debate didn't actually crash Joe Biden's numbers. His numbers were crashed by the fact that Democrats attacked him in a circular firing squad for 3 weeks. But at the end of the day, if you can't keep your own party together, then you have to step down. So that's the first thing. Joe Biden had to step down. You have a choice. Number two, are Democrats screwed? I don't know. I mean, objectively, I don't know. Anyone who says that they do know is lying. I will be hosting later on this week on MSNBC. I'll be able to talk about it. I'll have some people on my podcast to discuss it. We don't know who the nominee will be. We don't know how that nominee will be vetted. We don't know anything about the process. So you can't say whether or not the Democrats are screwed. I would argue that basically the fundamentals of the race have changed, but they really haven't. You still got a halfway decent economy. You still have an extremely unpopular and polarizing and old nominee on the side of the Republicans and Donald Trump. You still have things like Project 2025 that's very unpopular. 40% of independents who've heard about it don't like it. 60% of Democrats who've heard about it don't like it. You have abortion, which is a driving issue, and the Supreme Court. At a policy level and an economics level, you have a large number of issues that are still in the Democrats' favor. That has not changed. We'll see what happens to the stock market tomorrow because of Joe Biden's announcement. But as long as the economy stays relatively stable, I don't know. I mean, the fundamentals haven't changed. We'll see who the nominee is. Then third, everyone's like, oh, hey, is it going to be Harris? And who's going to be her VP? I don't know. It depends on how the DNC open convention is organized. Joe Biden endorsed Vice President Harris. That makes the most sense to me. She was a sitting vice president. 14 million people voted for them as a ticket. My guess is there will still be some sort of open convention. I don't think she's just going to be given the job, even though she should have it because she's the sitting vice president, and that kind of makes the most sense. But there are forces within the Democratic Party. Look, the same people who wanted Joe Biden out want Vice President Harris out. And those people aren't going to be quiet. So it'll be very interesting to see how that process goes. I don't know. If she ends up keeping the nomination, if she stays at the head of the ticket, which is what my guess is as of right now, and literally I got text messages coming in from people all over, so this could change. If she stays the nominee for the Democratic Party, I think there is a huge farm team of Democrats that she could pick from Kelly to Andy Beshear, to Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Walls up in Wisconsin. Harris, soon to be nominee Harris, would have lots of different options. So those are the three main things. I'll also say this because I think it's excruciatingly important for everybody to understand. This is unprecedented territory. Anybody who says they know what's going to happen is lying to you because nobody actually knows. Political scientists don't know. Pollsters don't know. Somebody just said that she just gave a comment. Only Democrats can destroy a successful president 3 months before the election. Hey, I'm in agreement with you. I think this whole thing was fairly ridiculous. I think it was insane for several Democrats to spend 21 days saying, oh my gosh, running around as arsonists, setting everything on fire, and then saying Joe Biden is a bad fire chief. Well, you're the one starting the fires. I'm very much in agreement with that. I've said that consistently on the air, but this is where we are. And unfortunately, the alternative is a fascist wannabe dictator and with a sort of white nationalist plan for the rest of the country. I'll answer a couple more questions before I have to go prep. I see my former student Sam. Hey Sam, how are you? White Democrats elite in Congress and the white donor class. That's part of it, but I want to be fair to many members of Congress who have been speaking out, and the number of members of Congress who say, hey, I think you should step down. These people are looking at their own numbers, right? Political science, I learned this in graduate school when I did my doctorate. Elected officials are single-minded seekers of re-election. What that means is their primary concern is keeping their jobs. And you saw senators and members of Congress who are looking at their local numbers and they're saying, Biden's unpopularity is ruining or harming my chances to get reelected. So everybody who was doing this wasn't just doing it because they don't like Harris, wasn't just doing it because they were operating off vibes. There are some real numbers out there at the local level that had people concerned. Couple of things. He was probably the sharp nail solidified decision. Yes, I do think that former President Obama has been stabbing Joe Biden from the front. I can't imagine what those conversations are like. But yes, many people who are strongly associated with former President Obama's camp have come forward and were some of the most vocal critics asking Joe Biden to step down. One or two other things. What names are being floated? Again, a lot of the governors, Kentucky, Kelly, who's the senator out of Arizona. So you have a lot of names that are sort of being bandied about. But again, we have to see. What we do know as of right now is that Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer and California Governor Gavin Newsom, they have already floated that they don't want to be anybody's VP. So it's unlikely that they will be vice presidential picks if Harris were to end up being the nominee. More likely than not, they may actually challenge her. I think that would be good for the country. I think that would be good for the Democratic Party. Quite frankly, I'm a big believer, and say it to my face. You've had all these people out there for months talking cash money nonsense that they want to get rid of Joe Biden. All right, step to the plate. None of them were willing to run against him during the primary, and that was only 4 months ago. So they ought to be willing to run against Harris for that position. If they're not, then be silent and forever hold your peace, like at a wedding. I'll take one last. I hope this isn't a message of saving democracy. You better focus on things like jobs, prices, and foods. Well, look, that's what's going to happen. There are plenty of messages that Democrats have to run on. I talked about that at the beginning. You got Project 2025, you have student loans, you have court reform, you have abortion. Like, there are actual substantive policy issues. You've got the economy, which is doing much better than expected. There are plenty of issues that Democrats can run on, that they are popular on, where they have a huge advantage. Former President Trump, 34 times, convicted, multiple charges against him, pending cases against him. He picked J.D. Vance, who's an abortion extremist. Like, he just opened up his left flank again. Donald Trump can't claim, I don't know anything about a national abortion ban, when J.D. Vance is saying, hey, I want a national abortion ban, and he's only been a senator for 18 minutes. So I don't think there will be a lack of substantive policy issues. It'll be interesting to see where those issues come into play. I'll leave you with these two questions. One, should Harris become the nominee, will Donald Trump debate her? That would be interesting. That would be compelling. It would probably be the most watched presidential debate in American history. I mean, they tend to go up every year anyway, but that would be something phenomenal. So we'll see. We don't know. Again, we don't know who the nominee is going to be. And then lastly, this. I know there's a lot of people who've said, I've gotten a lot of text messages from people say, oh my gosh, we're done for. And I always say this, look, I'm not a Democrat, right? I'm somebody who believes in America. I'm a political analyst. I can't declare any election over in July. And if you listen to my podcast this week on Slate, it's in my Instagram. I have a conversation with Michael Steele, and I talk about the fact that, I don't care what the New York Times says, or the Post, or the Hill, or Politico, or any of these magazines. These folks trying to declare the race over before anybody has even early voted. The race is not over. The polls are fluid. There's a lot of different things that can happen between now and November when people are actually voting, both good things and bad things. If you had asked me in March, what are the chances that Joe Biden would absolutely implode in a debate and his own party would spend 3 weeks trying to push him out, I would have said that's crazy. They would have done that after the midterms if they wanted to. So anything is possible. Anything is possible. And that's both good and bad. The most important thing for everybody to remember is to stay tuned, stay engaged, get out there voting. I hear everything from people like, we're in trouble, to folks who are excited. I know I've gotten texts from a number of younger people and more liberal people who I know who are excited because they were really unhappy with Joe Biden. So perhaps those people will be a lot more excited about the opportunity to vote for Kamala Harris. Anyway, so that's just my quick thing. Having just gotten off the air, and I got to field a whole bunch of phone calls and hope that democracy doesn't fall apart. I will see you all on the air this week, very likely Tuesday and Wednesday on MSNBC. Check out my podcast slate where I talk to Michael Steele about the RNC, and I'll be appearing on a couple of radio shows over the next day and a half or so. So keep yourselves tuned in here, and I'll talk to you guys later. It's really unprecedented times. All right, bye.